illusion, expanded identity possession is life. Life in a deluded way possesses, and the possession itself is felt as its own identity because of illusion. When life feels, it possesses the body and lands up in a delusion. It is the body, it is life. When it feels, it possesses wealth, and wealth is part of its identity. It is deluded life. Same way, when it feels name and fame, rewards and awards, it possesses, and the possession itself becomes part of its identity. It is deluded life. Life goes on getting deluded with so many things, with the concept of possession, and in the deeper delusion, the possession itself becomes part of its identity. Death comes as a great celebration and liberation, as deluded, unnecessary illusion and illusory identities. It's a great relief whenever part of you, what you think as you, is taken away from you. The truth which was, it were never part of you, is reminded to you. Understand? When money is taken away from you, when you feel the pain that some part of your identity is dying, it is a lesson to you. It was never part of you. It was your possession which has deluded and given you the illusory identity. It was part of you. When the name and fame is taken away from you, you are reminded to the truth. It was never part of you. It was your possession, but due to delusion, you identified that as part of your very identity. Same way, when you are reminded the body on which your multiple identities continue to grow, the brain on which the perception of your multiple identities are experienced by you, when that is taken away from you, the very ground on which your multiple possessions and the possibility of that possessions giving the delusive feeling you are part of those possessions, and those possessions are your identity, is taken away from you. A being should constantly remind itself not to identify with any possession. Not having possessions and not identifying with the possessions is the path of renunciation. Even having the possessions, but having the clarity, the possessions are not part of your identity, is the path of grihastha. Whether you take up the path of grihastha through the responsibility and having the wealth and everything, or the path of renunciation without having possessions itself, the important truth you need to remember is not letting anything become part of your illusory, deluded identity. Whether you have possessions or not does not matter. That should not become part of your identity, which is already deluded. When the source gets deluded by identifying itself on the body, body itself is your possession. But when you identify the possession of body as your identity, the delusion of the identity begins. When the delusion of identity starts, it leads to multiple identities, like identifying yourself with your wealth, with your name and fame, with all other possessions. Death is a reminder, a powerful guru to make your being understand all this was never part of you. These were never part of your illusory or deluded understanding. So, relax from the illusion of identifying your possessions as your identity. Possessions are possessions. They are not your identity. Identity should be experienced beyond anything you possess. Possessed does not comprise or compete or fulfill or lead the experience of the true identity. Sometimes your own possessions try to compete your identity. The possessions competing your original identity is disease. When your body competes with your original identity, the competition is disease. When your mind competes with your original identity, that is depression. When your possessions competes with your original identity, the possessions themselves do not have independent life, but the life received from the source identity. Your possessions start competing with the source identity. That competition is perversion. So, death clearly, neatly irons out your inner space. It makes you understand many things which were never part of your identity, but you assumed as part of your identity because of your experiencing possession of those things. Anything which does not say no to you, continuously you feel as possession. Unfortunately, because they do not have any will to say no to you, your will possesses it. When your will possesses something, it gets into the delusion that is part of you. Remembering things which does not say no to you is not part of you is unclutching. Remember, things may not say no to you. That does not mean that they are part of your very identity. They may be possessed by you. You may have ownership over them, but you cannot have identification over them. Including your body, you are only a owner. You cannot impose your identification on them. Reminding this great truth to you as a natural process is death. Death continues to happen multiple times continuously in your life because you carry multiple identities. You just need awareness to perceive, experience, live through all the multiple deaths happening. When you have the awareness, consciousness, experiencing multiple deaths in your life. You go through conscious deaths continuously. Going through conscious deaths continuously does a great conscious cleansing in you. Continuously having conscious cleansing is living enlightenment. Once you are completely cleansed in your consciousness and remain pure, you are Jivan Mukta, you are radiating enlightenment. Understand the truth, death continuously happening in you consciously is just to remind you about your original purity and help you to remain in purity.
The first question today we have is from Sundar from San Diego Tirualavai Center. Dear Kalabhairava, yesterday you explained about the Nirbhaya meditation. How do we bring out the subconscious and unconscious fear and greed during the Nirbhaya meditation? Thank you.
When you again and again go through the Nirbhaya Dhyana, naturally in few days your subconscious and unconscious patterns open up. In cosmic law, there is no separate subconscious or unconscious. Only the deeper layers on which you are not able to lay your hands immediately, you name them as subconscious or unconscious. Again and again, feeling your patterns, you reach the subconscious and unconscious. There is no need for separate process other than the simple, straightforward Nirbhaya Dhyan.
The next question is from Bharat from Dallas. In yesterday's satsang, you spoke about Bhuloka. What exactly do you mean by saying Bhuloka is a less intense projection and hell and heaven are little higher level projection? Does it mean that it is more easy to find that Bhuloka is a projection?
The possibility for disillusionment and experiencing the other extremes is more easy in Bhuloka. In Bhuloka, you can extremely experience the pain and the opposite extreme of the pain, pleasure, very easily without difficulty. But in hell, you can never experience pleasure. In heaven, you can never experience pain. When the opposite extremes are not experienced, the delusion continues to delude you. The disillusionment of anything happens only when the opposite extremes are experienced. When you experience the pleasure, disillusionment of pain happens. When you experience pain, disillusionment of pleasure happens. Both disillusionments finally giving you the realization both are illusion can happen easily only in human body, in planet Earth, in Bhuloka, because never pain happens in Swarga, in heaven. People do not perceive, do not get disillusioned in heaven. They continue to remain, understand, think the pleasure is eternal. Because the disillusionment does not happen, they do not seek the ultimate reality. Same way in hell, because the disillusionment of the pain does not happen, even by the moment of a pleasure, they continue to remain feeling the hell is eternal. That is the reason people who are in the hell or in the heaven feel it is eternal. Only in the Bhuloka, the truth of ephemeral reality, comparative reality, is experienced. So anybody wants to experience the existential reality which is beyond ephemeral and comparative reality has to land on Bhuloka, and Bhuloka is the thinnest layer possible for penetration and going beyond your patterns, samskaras, engrams. Any space, you are made to experience both the extremes again and again, will make you reach consciousness. All great masters' feet will make you experience both extremes continuously. Energy fields are the space where both extremes are perceived, continuously experienced, and the completion of both extremes are made to happen in you, so that the disillusionment happens very quickly.
The next question is from Murali. Dear Swamiji, pranams. In yesterday's satsang, you spoke about the waking state and deep sleep states. How can we spend majority of sleep time in deep sleep, and what practices will help move from deep sleep directly to waking state? Thank you.
Nirbhaya Dhyan is more than enough. You can also practice unclutching and ajapa while you fall asleep. It will reduce the quality and quantity of the time you spend in dream. Directly you can fall asleep. Even directly falling asleep and coming out of the sleep directly to the waking state may help your physical and mental health, but that will no way be helpful for enlightenment. For enlightenment, directly falling into Turiya state and coming out of Turiya is only going to help.